Oh, whoa, I'm on. Okay, I didn't mean to start it. But I'm here anyway. Hey, how's it going? Another episode of Jammin' Dude's Neighborhood. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Ben Jammin' Straley, and my co-host, the Black Russian. As you can see, I've been kicking it down here in the man cave. It's a nice, it's a holiday weekend. I'm just kind of kicking it. Finally getting some things done that I haven't been able to get done in a while. Hey, before I start my review, I want to show you my Neato. I finally got to watch the video too. I got the special edition. The box set is sitting over there. But yeah, I got the DVD Blu-ray for the whole 6-disc spiel. This was one of my absolute favorite albums ever growing up. So to see them get back together and perform the whole thing live. You know who really impressed me for this? Steve Zimmerman. Wow, how long has that guy been out of the biz? Even Bones, Joe DeBiase, I can't even talk. Joey, the bass player, he stayed in until, you know, when he kicked off after Inside Out and right before Pleasant Shade of Grey. So I mean that's into the 90s. But Steve Zimmerman, he hasn't sat behind the kit on an official release that I'm aware of since 1988. So I mean he was probably touring into 89, but wow, he really nailed his performance on the live versions from Awaken the Guardian and the old classic. Nice to hear Epitaph. I only heard the German show so far, so I'll be getting around to the other one. What was the Prague Power USA? I haven't watched the Prague Power USA show, but I'll probably do that tomorrow. Anyway, so great show, love the release. But on to my review of the second in my series of this album has never received a physical release. This was digital only, so I have to show you a picture of what I think might. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be, the poorest Odd Logic album is still going to be better than most of the prog rock, in my opinion, that is out there today. So I'm going to have some kind things to say about this one, but the mess that is Penny for Your Thoughts begins with this. Actually, the worst part of the album is the album cover. That album cover, I'm sorry, is genuinely terrible. And that's the first true negative thing I think I've ever said on this show. But that album cover warrants it. That could be the worst album cover art I have ever seen in my whole life. It is awful. It needs to be put in a shredder and forgotten forever. Just for this album cover alone, I'd almost rather this didn't get a release. But let's get on to the music, because the music is another story. I could talk for a really long time about Penny for Your Thoughts. I know that this is a very personal album to Sean. That's why I in some ways want to be kinder to it than I'm going to be, but I gotta maintain some objectivity. There's some great parts to it. I just think, what's frustrating about this album is going through it and thinking, I like that part. Oh, I like that part. I like that part. But then they don't go anywhere, and a lot of them don't really flow into one another very well either. The album as a whole ends up being a little patchwork, though there are some gems. Let me make it clear that I've always had a rule of thumb that if you really love half of an album, because let's face it, how many times do people spend money on albums that they only like one song of? So from early on, even when I was a kid, I kind of established this rule of thumb that if I bought an album and I only liked one song from it, then that album was not worth owning. I had to really enjoy and be able to go back to at least half the album and love half the album in order to warrant me putting down my money for it. because not everything is going to be front to back amazing. So Penny for Your Thoughts on that level does qualify. So it opens, we have an intro with Penny, then it goes straight into The First is the name, and it's a nice little piece, but it jumps around a bit, but you do get a nice little intro piece, and I think it establishes the themes of the album very well, and I've come to enjoy it, and so it does whet your appetite for the rest of the album. You get a lot of, but this is where you get the first taste of what are a lot of false endings on this album. Tracks sometimes the songs seem to end, and then they don't end, and then they seem to end again, and then they don't end again. And you're wondering if, like, you start to look at the tracks, and you start to wonder if the track markers are in the same place. It's like, is the track marker, did the next song start already? Or so we start that off right away. Then because the end of The First kind of gives a teaser for the theme of Life, Lore, and Love. Okay, which is fine. It threw me off a little bit at first, but then Life, Lore, and Love is actually a pretty decent thematic piece that starts off the album. Even if it is a little broken, at least we get some pieces and themes, and we understand what's going on with the story, which you'd have to read. If you buy the album, you get a digital copy of the inner sleeve, and you can read the storyline. You can see what's going on. So we're following basically this guy inside his head, and somebody trying to get past the surface to see the inner person and all the demons that he's fighting to not let that person in. That's my take on it anyway, when at the beginning of it. Although it does take a twist ending, which I won't get into. Spoilers. Spoilers! So, a good, decent mini-epic, even if, again, the endings seem to have you get a lot of false endings and stuff. Then I even really like Secrets. The Secrets track 4 really seems like it's going to be that first really one that hooks you in, but then about halfway through, everything that you like that was structuring it up as a song suddenly stops and it goes into something else. So again, a little bit of even the second part I like, but it didn't seem to kind of flow. It's like cut and pasted, you know. It's like, I don't know where to end this, so I'm going to put the end of something else onto it, and which was good, but at the end of the day, even though you like the parts, you're sometimes finding this a little bit disappointing. Now, but as we start to get, so The First is good. Life, Love, and Lore, good, decent, epic piece. Secrets, your first really big hook, but then it doesn't quite go that way. Now we get into like the really first decent song in track 5, The Traveler. I would include this on the best of any Odd Logic compilation that I could put out there. I really hope that if Odd Logic starts playing out live regularly, this becomes a centerpiece of their live work, because The Traveler represents everything I love about Odd Logic. That is, Sean, The Traveler is just off the map good. Really, really great. If the rest of the album could have come together the way that The Traveler did, you would have had this just, the whole album would have just come together and just floored me. But this, The Traveler is just an amazing piece, and it is by itself almost worth the purchase price of the album. Absolutely a fantastic, I mean, on level with like any of the great Dream Theater songs that I've ever heard. So that really then you start to feel like, okay, we got a pretty good album here. And then kind of falls off the table, because right after that we get Court of Ancient Rulers. I'm sorry, but this particular song is a low point on the album. This song, which is almost like a suite of snippets, is just a mess. It's a hodgepodge. You get like 30 seconds of a death metal piece, and then it drops down into an acoustic part, and then you get to like a minute of a mid-level shuffle, and then it drops into something else. You literally get 5 different songs within the first 3 minutes of this 6-minute piece. And that's when you start to wonder what on earth is even happening here. And it's not like the individual bits aren't good, because even within this you can kind of see that Sean Thompson's genius is there, but it's just not finding any cohesion in this particular piece. So Court of Ancient Rulers, give it a few spins, but ultimately a skip track on this album. Things start to pick back up with Mr. Compromise. I've really grown to like this piece. It starts to bring the listener back in, gives you a nice short, punchy piece with that has a lot of has a good hook to it, and I think can draw the listener back in. And then the album ends very, very strong. With 2 more knockout pieces, which I hope are in the Odd Logic set for time to come. You get the epic of the album in The Island, which the midsection is so intense. I would love to see The Island live, because I just know Sean would hit it out of the park. And if you ever hear it, you will get a chance to know what I'm talking about. There's this whole stormy midsection where Sean is just absolutely nailing it to the wall with the vocals and this high energy, near death metal driving thing, and then a chorus to end the song that just really is amazing. Very, very epic piece. He manages to cram 15 minutes worth of emotion into an 8-minute piece. So really good with The Island. And then we kind of end things with Lighthouses, which is one of the more positive tracks. I like it when a band, it reminds me of when I first heard Dream Theater, because you kind of get that light side and the dark side, and you get it all in one band. And we go straight from The Island, which is this extremely dark epic, and we finish it off with the beautiful, beautiful melodic Lighthouses, which would be a great encore. I could really see an entire sea of an audience just really getting behind Lighthouses. It's just majestic. The house lights coming up and all the people. It's just one of those really anthem pieces that are really good. So I mean, there's really is a lot to love about Penny for Your Thoughts. And then you get sort of an epilogue piece with track 10 and Agent Unknown. But it's a light soliloquy for the piece. It's only about 1.5 minutes long. So what you get here is like 8 real songs. And track 1 and track 10 are, minor bookends. And of those 8 songs, I'd say you easily have 5 decent tracks here. The Island, The Traveler, and Lighthouses, they are absolutely off the charts amazing. Life, Lore, and Love, Secrets, Mr. Compromise, and The First are excellent tracks, possibly a tad disjointed. And then, like I said, Court of the Ancient Rulers is kind of a thumbs down. But I still recommend the album. I have seen some people online that feel about it differently than I do. They give it even higher praise. I saw a guy online who thinks this is like his favorite Odd Logic album. So, what do I know? That's one of the beautiful things about being a prog rock fan, is that we can all respect each other's opinions. But that is my review. I'm not even going to put a theme song on it this week, just because I just feel like it's just uploading what I got. And I just want you guys to know that I love hearing from you guys. I love hanging out at the forums. I'm probably going to try and branch out and hang out at a few more forums. I lost my musical Yoda a few years ago, and I don't really have anybody in my personal life to talk about music with anymore. And after losing Chris Cornell, it really reminded me of an old family friend. I used to go to his house, and we would just kick back and listen to tunes until it was dark. when something like this happened. And being from Seattle, Chris Cornell was a big part of my growing up. But more so than that, it just made me miss the fact that I used to have this family friend that I could go over and grieve with when something like this happened. And I don't have him anymore. So it's, as far as music goes, I do have family and friends here that I love my family, and I have a nice community, and I have other interests. But when it comes to music, I really don't have an outlet for my music except for my brothers in progressive rock online. So hello to everybody at the DT forum, and hello to everybody at the Mike Portnoy forum. And you guys mean a lot to me in a time like this when we've lost a local hero. So a quick shout out to a fallen artist, and that's kind of it. So you guys kick back, be safe, enjoy the rest of the weekend, and please support Odd Logic, because I'm telling you, Odd Logic is the best unknown band in all of progressive rock right now. Even Penny for Your Thoughts is still so much better than a lot of other progressive rock albums that I've heard out there. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple weeks, and I'll be getting to the next Odd Logic album, which is the first one I've heard, If We Were Live. And I'll have a little bit more to say on that than I did last time. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you in a little bit.